Hey everyone. So today we are going to be talking about our next assignment. It is the first or the last part of our short stories before we start working with our novel for this unit. So let's go ahead and go into classwork. And then if you could please go find number 5, the Tradition of Dialect, HR3, and it has mastery on it, mastery assessment on it also. And then just go ahead and click on that in order to open it up. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be analyzing and looking at the way in which an author uses dialogue and dialect to capture how characters speak. So one thing that I did a little differently is I added footnotes. So if you see these little tiny numbers up here, it means that there's more information at the bottom of the page. So dialogue is just a conversation between two or more people as a feature of a book, a play, or a movie. And then dialect is a particular form of language which is peculiar or specific to a region or social group. Okay. So you are going to read a short story. It is full of dialect, so it seems a lot longer than it actually is. I think the entire assignment is about 12 pages, but that's because everything is dialect. And if you remember from writing, you have to have, a new paragraph every time you switch speakers. So that's why this story seems so much longer than the other ones. The main objective that you're going to be working with today, so what you are responsible for learning during this assignment and what you will be assessed on, is how Hurston's style distinguished her as a unique voice during the Harlem Renaissance, which is also tying in to our mastery assessment, our final, which is about how Hurston was a reflection of but also a deviation from the Harlem Renaissance and the philosophies of the Harlem Renaissance. All right. So an author's use of dialect really is about a validation of the oral traditions that are used in many, many cultures. It's it's a validation of a time, a place, and of people in general, because it really contributes an authentic voice to the text, and it makes it seem more realistic as opposed to strong academic language, which was really heavy during the Harlem Renaissance as well. Many writers, many authors were using very academic and very high language, so that way it seemed that they were more inclined, because they were trying to get rid of those stereotypes that had permeated their culture for the last 400 years. So, or at least 200-300 years. Let's see. So basically it's a representation of spoken language, which we read with Mark Twain. Remember when we read part of Huckleberry Finn, and also with some other texts that we've read throughout the year. But basically it just tells you where the story might be placed, setting wise, what time frame, based on the language that they use, like the specific word choice, right? And basically, this is really an audio or an introduction to the oral tradition and to the way that Hurston writes, which we will get into with Their Eyes Were Watching God. So what you're going to do is, as you read, you're going to annotate and highlight story details to create a mental image of the characters and the setting, as well as the use of dialect. You can go through and read it here. Okay, it's really, really large text. And you can also click here to get to the audiobook, which is really helpful. And you just go ahead and start reading, but make sure you are getting, images of the characters, the setting, right? It was 11 o'clock of a spring night in Florida. Okay. To me, that tells me that detail right there, it's starting to get muggy. It's starting to get a little humid. And if it's at 11 o'clock at night, it's later, and it gives me this idea of what is going on in the story. And so you keep reading, and you see it's like, oh, we have Delia Jones, she's a character. It gives you a little bit of background on who she is, and then you go through it, and then you start with the dialect. Okay, right around paragraph 5, it gives you a little bit of the dialect. Easiest thing to do is to either listen to the audiobook to help you with this, or to read it out loud whenever you see this dialect. At least lip read, okay? Right? Like you can see that there are some terms in here, like I is afraid of snakes. I capitalized, it's obviously going to be I. I is afraid of snakes. It's really just the easiest thing to do is just going to be to read it out loud or to listen to it and using this audiobook connection. All right. If you click on that, it'll take you to the YouTube and it'll give you all the parts all together. Now, once you're done reading through it and you've gotten all of this done, there is one question at the very, very bottom. Oops, there we go. What role does dialect play in the development of the tone, which is defined as a literary device through which the author conveys their feelings or opinions about the subject matter, right? Your tone is your attitude toward a piece, right? Like your mama says, don't take that tone with me. Don't get an attitude with me. Okay. That's how I always remember it. And your voice is the way you sound, like the words you say. So tone is your attitude, your feelings toward it, and your voice is the way you speak and the way people hear you. Let's see. Words are chosen very carefully, and sometimes our authors will go back and they'll edit and revise their writing so it makes it sound more specific, and use really, really connotation heavy words instead of those basic words. All right. Let's see what else. Let's continue. So what role does dialect play in the development of the tone of the story? So how does it help you understand how she feels, how Kirsten feels about the subject? How she feel about the characters, the setting, everything, right? Why does she choose to use dialect instead of using anything else, rather standard English, right? Standard American English. If you need a little help with some of this is a really, really good video to help you to understand what's going on in the symbolism, and also like just a summary in case you didn't catch it. It has a little bit of analysis in it. It's like a 7-minute video. So it might be helpful for you to watch that. Then you have a literary analysis down here, which is going to be a little bit of a writing. Here's the thing. If you do not need to use this race strategy to respond to the prompt, don't use it. This is there if you need it, okay? If you don't need this support, don't use it, but it's there if you do need it, okay? Your mastery check is to analyze the extent to which Hurston's story is a tribute to the lives of ordinary African American people. In your analysis, address the literary elements that you have studied, including Hurston's use of diction, and explain how our use of diction and syntax shapes the mood, the voice, and the tone of the story. You should be using only formal diction, including writing structure that conveys your purpose, your audience, your topic, and context, thesis statement, textual evidence, and commentary to support your analysis, and a conclusion that restates your claim and supports the ideas developed in the argument. Really, this is going to be about a paragraph, maybe a little bit longer, but we're going to start off slow and build up over time. And also using this analysis of the diction and syntax and the tone and the dialect will be beneficial to your mastery assessment towards the end of the unit or at the end of the unit in May. Okay. If you have any questions, please let me know and, go through, use this strategy if you need it. Otherwise, that's about it. So go ahead and make sure you read through the story, annotate your text, answer the 2 questions, and I will see you on the other side.